So I know I'm a little bit late to the game, but I do want to talk a little bit about the whole deal between JAB and Illy in Italy, which was announced not too long ago, really. And it's kind of an interesting deal, right? Because JAB did not acquire Illy as they have done typically in the past. Instead, they've kind of done a licensing deal to take Illy's coffee and put it in Nespresso pods and take those to market. Now, this kind of wrecks my head a little bit in a few different ways. Firstly, JAB ultimately owns Keurig, which is a totally different system. This deal does not cover Illy going into Keurig pods. That actually I think is a thing that already happens, but that's not being covered in this deal. This is solely for specifically aluminium Nespresso capsules, which is kind of interesting. Now, obviously, Nespresso is the premium coffee capsule, especially for espresso globally. They have set the standard. Everyone is chasing that particular system because there's so many machines installed in people's houses all around the world. The question that I have that's kind of interesting to me is that why did Illy partner with someone to do this? Someone would happily pack Illy's, coffee into capsules for them. People with good machines, good technology, good grinders, able to deliver a high quality pod. And it's not like Illy's against pods. They've been doing pods, I think, for the longest possible time. They had the ESE system, the little paper wrapped, tamped, tight little pucks of coffee. They've done them in other systems. I think like the various kind of random pod systems in Italy that are kind of popular. But why didn't Illy do it themselves? And I guess, Illy's growth, it seems, has sort of flatlined, which is interesting. It's still incredible. They turn over, I think, 470 million euros a year. They're a big, big company, but there hasn't really been much growth in the last 4 or 5 years for them. They kind of flatlined. This deal, I guess, is kind of easy money. I don't know the size of the deal, but they don't really have to work particularly hard. I'm guessing they don't make much margin, but it's still kind of weird. Now, for JAB, it kind of makes more sense. Illy is a powerful brand. They've worked hard to build that brand. It is one of the strongest, most recognizable brands in the world of coffee, especially espresso coffee. However you feel about Illy, they are undeniably premium in an enormous amount of people's minds. Right now, JAB needs brands, right? Like, brands are incredibly important because they're the few things that will stop you just going with the cheapest option online, right? Like, Amazon is experimenting with a whole host of different products that they're doing themselves, where they're kind of iterating brands as they go, right? Like, they've got tons of data on how people search, what people click or don't click. They're able to kind of customize their various brands around consumer data, which is really kind of fascinating. I would argue that's going to take you to a place where you give people what they want, but you won't give people what they don't know that they want. The kind of evolutionary leap of brand or quality won't really happen. You'll just have a really good iterative brand. But nonetheless, if you look at Amazon, and it does, I think, in many ways tie all the way back to Amazon. Everyone's freaking out about Amazon. If you search for coffee capsules on Amazon, how do you get that sale, right? And brand remains really the only convincing answer, which is, you need to trust the product you're buying. Amazon increasingly has a trust issue. There's a lot of suspicious, low quality, fake reviews, all sorts of sketchy stuff happening on Amazon, especially in electronics, but I don't see that being contained there for particularly long. So Amazon has a trust issue. And so, brands and distribution really seem to be the pathways being chased here. Now, again, Illy, old company, great wholesale distribution network. It's in a lot of supermarkets. You'd argue it has a reasonable retail distribution network as well. It's interesting that this deal is really about distribution again, right? Like, explicitly so. It's about JAB or JDE, which is Jacobs Dow Egberts. Those are the ones that are kind of going to do the distribution network for them. And that's kind of interesting that Illy sees JAB as just having better reach or more effective reach for this particular product. To be honest, there's so much about this deal I just don't necessarily understand, and I don't think unless you're in the room you really would understand. I see the benefits to both parties, but I'm just kind of interested that this was the solution that they both chose. Certainly for Illy to choose this solution, that's kind of interesting to me. I'll be honest, sitting down with Andrea Illy for an interview is kind of high on my wish list. So I would just love to understand what they're thinking around that sort of stuff a little bit better. And maybe for them, it allows them to do additional business, more throughput for their roasting manufacturing without really having to take their eyes off their core business, right? It allows them to remain extremely focused as a company on what they're doing, and maybe for them, that's the most important thing. Nonetheless, super interesting time in coffee as always, lots going on, lots to talk about. As always, I'd love your feedback and your thoughts and your comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.